The loudest voice in the room is sometimes the one that says nothing at all. That line, my friends, is where this whole story begins. Because silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom wearing armor. Most people think no contact means disappearing, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to sting a little. Just cutting someone off doesn't make you powerful. What makes you powerful is what you become while you're silent. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a storm, wind howling, rain hitting hard, trees bending like they're about to snap. That storm is your heartbreak, the chaos they left you in. And what do most people do? They scream into it, trying to shout louder than the thunder. They text, they call, they post sad quotes hoping someone hears them. But not you, not anymore. You learned that sometimes the only way to survive a storm is to become calm inside it. That's what going beyond no contact really is. It's not a game of who texts first or who breaks first. It's about breaking a cycle that never deserved your energy in the first place. People love to tell you, if you stay silent, they'll miss you. But let's be honest, most of us stayed silent at first because we were hoping they would. That's the lie we need to destroy today. Silence isn't meant to make them miss you. It's meant to help you remember you. See, when you first go no contact, your silence is still full of noise. You're replaying everything they said, every time they pulled away, every maybe later that never came. You're quiet on the outside, but inside, you're still begging for closure. But when you go beyond no contact, that silence becomes different. It starts speaking to you instead of about them. You stop waiting for their message and start listening to your own thoughts. That's when the real healing starts. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what going beyond no contact means. It's mastering your internal world while the external one still spins. It's realizing that their attention was never the source of your peace. You were. Picture this, my friends. You're in a quiet room, sunlight coming through the window. Your phone is face down, notifications off. For the first time, you feel that silence isn't empty. It's full of possibility, full of power, full of peace. That's the moment they start feeling your absence, not because you vanished, but because you evolved. You became a mystery they can't read anymore. And let me tell you, people don't forget mysteries. They forget the noise, they forget chasers, but they never forget someone who walked away with quiet confidence, because that's the kind of energy that lingers in their mind long after you've left the room. So today, we're not just doing no contact, we're going beyond it. We're going to talk about how to become unforgettable, not through revenge, not through games, but through evolution. You're not trying to win them back, you're trying to win yourself back. Remember this, your silence isn't a punishment, it's a proclamation. I choose peace over pain. That's the energy of someone who's done explaining, done proving, done chasing. So, stay with me, because what's coming next will change how you see silence forever. And before we go on, drop this in the comments right now. I choose peace. Say it like you mean it, because that's your power phrase for today. Now hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's begin your transformation. Number 1, the illusion of no contact. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. That line hits different when you've been in no contact for a while, doesn't it? Because let's be honest, my friends, half the pain you feel isn't even from what they did to you. It's from what your mind keeps replaying when everything goes quiet. You start imagining them smiling somewhere, moving on, forgetting you. That imagination becomes your tormentor, louder than their absence. Picture this. You're sitting alone at night, phone in hand, staring at that empty chat. It feels like a battlefield after the war is over. Silent, smoky, full of ghosts. Every notification that isn't from them feels like another bullet to the chest. You start thinking, maybe they don't care, maybe my silence doesn't matter. But that's the illusion of no contact. It tricks you into thinking this silence is about them, when really it's about you. You see, when you first go silent, your ego still wants them to notice. You want them to text. You want them to realize they lost something rare. You want the silence to sting them the way their rejection stung you. That's normal. That's human. But that's not power. That's still chasing, just without words. Most people treat no contact like bait. They think if they disappear long enough, the other person will panic and come running back. But the truth is, folks, that's still emotional dependency dressed in discipline's clothing. You're not free yet. You're just waiting in disguise. That's why it feels heavy, because deep down, you're still hoping your silence will pull them back, when the real purpose of silence is to pull you forward. No contact isn't revenge, it's recovery. It's the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. You're not trying to make them regret losing you. You're learning to stop regretting losing yourself. That's the real reason Stoicism speaks so deeply here. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." You can block them everywhere, delete every picture, mute every memory. But if you're still chasing them in your mind, you're still trapped. Imagine your mind like a radio, folks. Every thought you feed it becomes the station it plays. When you keep tuning into "what are they doing" and "do they miss me," you're just keeping their frequency alive. But the moment you tune that dial to your own peace, the music changes. Suddenly, the silence becomes peaceful instead of painful. That's the moment when your power starts returning, not because they texted, not because they noticed, but because you finally realized you don't need to be remembered to be reborn. Here's the hard truth. Letting go won't feel peaceful at first. It'll feel like death. The ego will fight, screaming, "What if they forget me? What if I never get closure?" But here's something no one tells you. Closure doesn't come from conversation. It comes from evolution. You don't need them to explain why they left. You need to understand why you kept staying. Fear is the chain, my friends. It whispers, "If I stop caring, I'll lose them forever." But here's the paradox. When you stop caring, that's when your energy becomes unforgettable. Because nothing unsettles someone more than realizing the person who once chased them doesn't even look back anymore. Let me break the biggest lie you've been told. Silence isn't supposed to make them come back. It's supposed to make you stop waiting for them to. The goal isn't to be noticed, it's to be at peace. When you stop trying to control their reaction, you finally regain control over yourself. That's when everything changes. You wake up one morning, and for the first time, you don't check your phone. You don't stalk their page. You don't replay old messages. You just breathe. You make your coffee, look in the mirror, and realize you're finally living again. That's not no contact. That's rebirth. That's the peace of a warrior who fought every urge to reach out and chose silence instead. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And you know what's beyond your control? Their attention, their apology, their understanding. What is in your control is your focus, your growth, your reaction. That's where your real power lives. So right now, my friends, stop counting how many days it's been since they last reached out. Start counting how many days it's been since you last begged for their validation. Every day you stay silent, you're building self-respect in the shadows. Every day you hold back that urge to text, you're rewiring your brain for peace instead of panic. That's how warriors are made, quietly, consistently, and without needing an audience. They may not hear your silence today, but one day they'll feel it. Because real strength doesn't roar. It hums beneath the surface like a quiet storm waiting for no one's recognition. So, I want you to write this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence is my freedom. Type it, own it, live it. Show yourself and the world that you're not just doing no contact, you're going beyond it. And stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly what happens in their mind when your silence starts echoing louder than your presence ever did. Number 2, when your energy goes silent. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. When your energy finally goes silent, my friends, that's when the real shift begins. This isn't the kind of silence that comes from blocking someone or ignoring their calls. This is deeper. This is spiritual silence. The kind where your energy, your attention, and your emotions stop orbiting around them like planets around a dying sun. You start reclaiming your own gravity. Imagine it like this. You've been standing in front of a mirror, fogged up from all the noise, memories, regrets, the endless, why didn't they see my worth? And then one day, without forcing it, you wipe the mirror clean. Suddenly, you can see yourself again. That's what happens when your energy goes silent. You stop begging the universe for their return and start realizing the universe was waiting for you to return to yourself all along. At first, though, it's confusing. You'll catch yourself wondering, why do I feel so strange? Why doesn't it hurt as much, but still feels heavy? Why do they suddenly pop into my mind right when I'm peaceful? That's because detachment is a detox. Your mind is withdrawing from emotional dependence, the same way a body shakes when it's releasing toxins. You're breaking a pattern your nervous system got addicted to: chaos, anticipation, reward, disappointment. And just like any addiction, withdrawal hurts before it heals. But here's what they don't realize. Your silence isn't just quiet, it's magnetic. When your energy goes still, it creates a vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum, folks. The moment you stop pouring energy into them, something inside them begins to stir. They feel the absence before they understand it. They'll scroll through their feed, see your name, and for a split second feel that strange tension. The invisible cord that used to pull you toward them is now pulling them toward you, because you're not chasing anymore, you're centered. You've probably heard this quote before: where attention goes, energy flows. But here's the part no one talks about. Where attention stops going, peace begins to grow. The moment your energy stops feeding their ego, it starts feeding your evolution. That's why Stoics call detachment a form of inner wealth. You're investing your energy in something that actually gives you a return: yourself. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if they forget me? What if my silence pushes them away forever? Let me break that fear right now. People don't forget energy that made them feel safe. They forget noise, they forget drama, but they never forget peace. Because peace is rare, and once someone's had a taste of it, everything else starts to feel like chaos. So, no, they won't forget you. Not because you're shouting your worth, but because you stopped needing them to see it. You see, they expected your silence to feel like victory. They thought it would make them feel free. But true freedom isn't about losing noise, it's about losing control. And when your energy goes silent, you remove the control they once had over your emotions. They'll feel it in subtle ways: random memories resurfacing, a strange urge to check your profile, that quiet unease when someone mentions your name. They might laugh it off, pretend they're fine. But deep down, your silence has started haunting them because it reflects something they can't fake: your peace. It's almost poetic, isn't it? They ran from the noise of your love, only to be trapped in the silence of your absence. That's the paradox of power. When you were chasing, they were calm. Now that you're calm, they're restless. When you were begging for answers, they were confident. Now that you've stopped explaining, they're confused. The balance has shifted without a single text, a single word, a single sound. Marcus Aurelius said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." That's what your silence is doing. It's aligning you with something bigger than their approval. You've stopped trying to control what they think and started mastering what you feel. And that kind of peace, that's not something anyone can take away from you again. So don't break your silence just to see if it's working. That's like digging up a seed to check if it's growing. Let your energy do the talking. Let your transformation speak louder than your words ever could. They'll notice. They'll feel it. They'll sense that something about you has changed, but they won't be able to describe it. That mystery will keep them up at night, long after your silence stops being about them and starts being about your freedom. This is where you start to realize that silence isn't empty, it's full of growth, full of power, full of quiet victories no one sees but you. The moment your energy goes silent, you're no longer reacting, you're creating. You're not trying to get them back. You're trying to get yourself back, piece by piece, breath by breath. So here's your reminder, my friends. When your energy goes silent, you don't disappear. You reappear in your strength, your peace, your purpose. That's when they'll start feeling what they never valued, your presence. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My energy speaks louder than my words. Write it not just to show them, but to remind yourself. Show the world that you're not chasing, not begging, not breaking, you're becoming. And stay with me, because what comes next will open your eyes to what's really happening inside their mind while you're silent. You'll be shocked at how deeply your absence is already rewriting their story. Number 3, the withdrawal they can't explain. When you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you. Lolly Daskell. Now, my friends, here's where things start to shift in ways they never saw coming. When your energy goes silent, they go through something that even they can't fully explain. Withdrawal. And I don't mean a gentle ache or some passing thought of you every now and then. I mean a deep psychological craving. That silent, restless feeling that creeps in late at night when the noise fades and they can finally hear their thoughts. That's when they start missing your energy, not because of guilt or love, but because the emotional supply they were feeding on is suddenly gone. Picture this. Someone has been drinking sweet water from a stream they never appreciated. They thought it would flow forever. Then one day they return, and it's dry. No sound, no shimmer, no reflection, just silence. At first they stand there confused. They kick a few stones, laugh it off, and tell themselves, "It's fine, I'll find another stream." But deep down, the thirst begins. That's what your silence does. It turns the easy comfort they took for granted into something they can't replace. At first, they'll call it space. They'll say things like, "It's good we're apart," or "They needed time to cool off." But slowly, that space becomes a void. The quiet starts whispering. The memories start replaying. They start scrolling through old photos, rereading your messages, remembering how it felt to be understood, something they didn't value until it disappeared. And that's the first stage of withdrawal, denial. They convince themselves they're fine. They tell their friends they're fine. But the truth? They're not fine. They're restless. Because you can't replace peace with distraction. And here's where the irony hits. They'll try to substitute your energy with other people, with new attention, with temporary highs. They'll post more, party more, talk louder, act like they've moved on. But the silence behind those moments starts to echo. No one else gives them that same feeling. No one listens like you did. No one saw them the way you did. Because you weren't just a person, you were an experience. And experiences can't be replaced, only remembered. Then comes the frustration. They'll start wondering why you're not reacting, why you're not checking their stories, not reaching out, not taking the bait. That's when they'll start testing the waters. A like here, a story post there, maybe even a subtle jab meant to pull you out of your peace, because they're desperate to feel in control again. They want proof that they still matter to you, but your silence denies them that proof, and it burns. It forces them to confront a truth they've spent their whole life avoiding, that their worth was never defined by your attention. That's the thing about withdrawal. It doesn't just expose missing you, it exposes them. It brings up all the parts of themselves they've been running from. The guilt, the emptiness, the ego that thought you'd always come back. Silence doesn't punish them. It purifies them. It strips away their illusions, one layer at a time, until they're left staring at the truth they never wanted to see. You see, folks, people think the pain of no contact belongs to the one who's silent. But what they forget is that silence has a way of flipping the mirror. The same quiet that healed you starts haunting them. Because when your energy stops feeding their ego, they're forced to feed on their own thoughts, and that's a taste no one enjoys. They'll feel it most in the moments they least expect. In the middle of laughter, they'll suddenly think of your smile. While lying next to someone else, they'll feel a wave of emptiness they can't name. During a random drive, a song will hit different. Not because of the lyrics, but because your energy once made it mean something. That's withdrawal, my friends. Not missing the person, but missing the peace. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." They're realizing that lesson the hard way, because your silence is no longer about revenge. It's about reflection. Every second you stay still, you're teaching them something they never learned while you were talking, that your absence carries more truth than their excuses ever did. But let's be real, this part won't be easy for you either. There will be moments when your heart whispers, maybe I should text them. That's not weakness, that's withdrawal on your side too. You're detoxing from emotional patterns that once felt like home, even if that home was built on chaos. But remember this, every time you choose silence instead of reaction, you're reprogramming your mind for peace. You're teaching your soul that it doesn't need their attention to feel alive. So let the withdrawal happen for both of you, because behind that discomfort is rebirth. The day will come when you wake up and their memory doesn't sting anymore. You'll think of them, and instead of pain, you'll feel gratitude. Gratitude that their leaving forced you to find yourself. They, on the other hand, will keep chasing that feeling they lost, not realizing it was never in you. It was in how you made them feel about themselves. And when they can't find it again, that's when the regret begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet. The kind that sinks deep and never leaves. So, if you ever start doubting your silence, remember this. What feels like absence to you is withdrawal to them. They're learning that peace isn't something they can demand from others. And you're learning that peace is something you build within. I want you to write this in the comments right now. I am the peace they lost, because that's the truth. You're not the one missing anymore. You're the one being missed. Stay with me, because next we're going to dive into the mirror effect. What happens when your silence starts forcing them to see who they really are? And trust me, that's where the real pain and the real power begins. Number 4. The mirror effect. Their ego versus reality. When you meet someone, you meet their mask, not their soul. Only silence removes the mask. My friends, this is the stage where your silence stops being something they notice and becomes something they fear. Because once your energy truly disappears, they're left alone with the one thing they've been avoiding since the beginning: their reflection. See, when you were their mirror. Every time they looked at you, they saw a version of themselves they wanted to believe in, admired, desired, important. But when that mirror goes dark, when you stop responding, stop explaining, stop reacting, that's when the illusions start cracking. They're forced to see who they are without your validation. And that, my friends, is terrifying. Imagine someone standing in front of a broken mirror. Every piece reflects a fragment of their ego: pride, control, superiority, false confidence. When your silence enters the room, it's like those pieces start falling away, one by one, until all that's left is the raw truth staring back at them. No more applause, no more attention, no more emotional supply. Just them and the echo of what they've done. At first, they'll resist it. They'll blame you. They'll say they're being dramatic, or they're just playing games. That's their ego talking, the voice that can't handle accountability. But your silence doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It just exists. And that quiet existence exposes everything words could never reach. This is where the power of Stoic silence becomes sacred. You're no longer engaging in the noise of their denial. You're showing them a reflection of truth so pure that it burns. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." That's exactly what your silence is doing. It's turning you into the calm their chaos can't disturb. You're no longer their mirror. You're their consequence. And let me tell you something, nothing humbles the ego faster than its own reflection. They'll replay every conversation, every moment they dismissed your feelings, every time they thought you'd never leave. They'll analyze your last words, your last look, your last text. They'll zoom in on the smallest details, trying to find meaning, because now, for the first time, your absence means everything. They used to believe they were the prize, the one in control, the one with options, but your silence has flipped that script completely. Now you are the question that keeps them awake at night. They'll start asking themselves, why didn't they fight for me this time? Or have they really moved on? And the cruel irony is, you won't even be thinking about them anymore. That's the mirror effect. Your silence becomes their self-examination. They start realizing that maybe you weren't the weak one, maybe you were the stable one, maybe you weren't too emotional, maybe they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe you weren't asking for too much, maybe they were giving too little. That's what happens when silence holds the mirror. Truth becomes unavoidable. But here's where it gets deeper. Silence doesn't just reflect them, it refines you. Every day you choose not to explain yourself, you're reminding your mind that peace is more powerful than proving a point. Every moment you resist the urge to react, you're teaching your spirit restraint. That's what Stoics called self-mastery. Not controlling others, but controlling your need to control. Let's be real though, my friends, this stage hurts, because while they're confronting their reflection, you're confronting your patience. You'll wonder, do they even care? Are they even thinking about me? But here's the truth. They are. Just not in ways you can see. They'll never admit it, but your silence has become their obsession. Not because you're playing games, but because your peace is unsettling. Ego can fight words. It can twist, deny, argue, justify. But ego cannot fight silence. Silence is the one opponent it can't outsmart. It's like standing in a room where every sound echoes back your own voice. Eventually you stop talking and start listening, and what they're hearing now is the sound of their own guilt. The more you stay still, the more the mirror does its work. They'll see it in flashes. Your kindness, your patience, the moments they dismissed. Every reflection cuts a little deeper because it reveals what they lost. They'll try to escape it, distractions, rebounds, pretending, but mirrors follow you everywhere, don't they? Especially the kind you created through your energy. That's why I tell you, don't break your silence just to remind them who you are. Your silence is the reminder. Every day you stay quiet, their ego dissolves a little more, replaced by reflection. They'll start remembering not the things you said, but the things you did. The small acts of love they didn't reciprocate, the loyalty they didn't earn, the peace they disturbed. That's how your silence teaches them, slowly, painfully, effectively. And when that mirror finally clears, when reality replaces illusion, they'll realize something that'll shake them. You were never competing with them, you were healing them. You were their calm in chaos, and they mistook it for weakness. But now that calm is gone, and all they're left with is noise. Epictetus said, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things." That's what your silence exposes, their own judgments. You've stopped defending your character because you've learned something powerful. Truth doesn't need defense, it just needs time. So, my friends, let the mirror do its work. Don't rush the process. Don't speak just to fill the quiet. The more you hold your peace, the clearer their reflection becomes. One day, they'll look at themselves and realize they weren't rejected, they were revealed. And that's when regret begins, not for losing you, but for losing the version of themselves they only knew when they were with you. Now take a breath. You've reached the stage where silence becomes revelation. You're no longer waiting to be seen, you're letting truth speak for you. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence is their mirror. Say it to show yourself, show the world, and remind your own heart that reflection always precedes revelation. And stay with me, because next we're going to go deeper into the stage where silence doesn't just reveal the truth, it reprograms their mind forever. Number 5, reprogramming their mind without saying a word. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. Ram Dass. My friends, this is where your silence stops being just distance and becomes transformation. You might not realize it yet, but every second you've stayed quiet, every urge you've resisted, every time you chose peace over panic, you've been reprogramming their mind without sending a single text, without posting a single quote, without proving a single thing. You've been changing the way they think about you. See, when you were there, they thought they knew you. They built a mental version of you, predictable, available, emotional. You loved too deeply, explained too much, forgave too fast. They told themselves, no matter what I do, they'll always care. And maybe for a while, that was true. But silence? Silence rewrites the entire story. Because when someone disappears from the role you cast them in, the mind has no choice but to rewrite the script. Picture this. They're scrolling through their phone, past your old texts, old photos, old moments. But something feels off. They can't recognize you anymore. The version of you that begged for attention is gone. The one that argued to be understood is silent. The one that used to explain everything has vanished. And now their mind can't make sense of it. It starts asking questions like, did I ever really know them? Were they pretending all along? What if they don't even care anymore? That's not just curiosity, that's psychological confusion. That's the reprogramming taking hold. People crave predictability. The ego loves patterns. But when your silence breaks the pattern, their ego starts to crumble. They can't predict your next move anymore, and that uncertainty is torture for a person who once fed on control. It's like pulling the rug out from under their self-image. They thought you'd always react, always respond, always try to fix what they broke. But now, nothing. Stillness. Quiet. And that quiet becomes deafening. The human mind can rationalize rejection, but it can't rationalize disappearance. When you go silent, you leave a gap their thoughts can't fill. So they fill it with stories. Maybe they're over me. Maybe they found someone new. Maybe I pushed too far. Their imagination starts creating pain that your presence could never have caused. That's why your silence hurts them more than your words ever could, because it makes them do the work. They're now fighting their own mind instead of fighting you. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And when you react with silence, you're showing mastery. You're not playing the same emotional game. You're setting the tone of the new dynamic. One where peace replaces drama and boundaries replace begging. That reprograms them on a subconscious level. Every time they think about you, it's not followed by guilt or arguments anymore. It's followed by curiosity and regret. Here's the truth. Your silence becomes their teacher. It teaches them what your words never could. It shows them that you were never the emotional one. They were. You were never desperate. You were devoted. And your silence becomes proof that you were never weak for caring, only strong for finally stopping. They'll start realizing that the person they underestimated was actually the one holding all the emotional gravity. Imagine their thoughts like a song stuck on repeat. Every chorus is the same. They'll reach out eventually, but as time goes on, that song starts skipping. The beat doesn't land, the rhythm's off, because the silence between the notes is growing louder than the music. That's what your absence does. It changes the rhythm of their life. You're no longer the melody that played in the background. You've become the echo they can't turn off. But here's something powerful, folks. While their mind is reprogramming, so is yours. Every day you don't break the silence, you're reprogramming yourself too. You're detaching from old habits, needing validation, explaining your worth, proving your loyalty. You're teaching your nervous system that peace doesn't require permission. That's the real power of Stoic silence. Not control over them, but mastery over yourself. And yes, it's hard. You'll have moments when you want to break the silence, to remind them what they lost. But remember this, the moment you explain yourself again, you return to the old script. You give them the comfort of knowing who you are, but when you stay silent, you keep them guessing. You force them to confront what they took for granted, because mystery is unforgettable, and your silence has turned you into one. Seneca once said, "It is part of the cure to wish to be cured." Their confusion, their curiosity, their sleepless nights replaying your last words, that is the beginning of their cure. They're starting to understand what you are offering, what they lost, and what peace feels like when it's no longer theirs. You're not doing it to punish them. You're doing it to release yourself. And in that release, their ego dissolves, their narrative rewrites, their pride softens. Eventually, they'll come back, maybe not with words, but with energy. You'll feel it, a random text, a memory they mention, a song they share. But by then, you won't need it, because while they were breaking down in silence, you were breaking free in it. That's what reprogramming really means. They start questioning their importance in your story, while you finally remember yours. You're no longer the same person they walked away from, and that's what makes you unforgettable. So, my friends, remember this: your silence is not empty. It's filled with rewiring, reflection, and rebirth. You're not punishing them, you're teaching them, you're not disappearing, you're evolving. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence is teaching them what my words never could. Type it, show it, feel it, because that's not just a sentence, it's your new identity. And stay with me, because in the next section, we'll talk about something that will change everything. The transformation they'll never see coming. The evolution that makes you truly unforgettable. Number 6. The evolution they never saw coming. When you rise above your suffering, you stop being their memory and become their lesson. My friends, this is the moment your silence turns into something unstoppable. Up until now, your quiet was their confusion. Your distance was their discomfort. But this stage, this right here, is where your transformation begins to burn in their mind like an unshakable truth. Because when you go beyond no contact, when you go beyond silence, you don't just disappear, you evolve. Imagine a phoenix. It doesn't scream when it burns. It doesn't beg for help as the flames rise. It just lets the old self turn to ash so that the new one can rise. That's exactly what's happening to you. You're not hiding, you're rebuilding. You're not waiting for them, you're preparing for yourself. And what's beautiful about this stage is that they can't see it, but they can feel it. They sense the shift, even if they don't understand it. That's what makes evolution so haunting. It's invisible, but undeniable. When you were chasing them, they felt powerful, but now, as you rise silently, they feel powerless, because they can't access the version of you that no longer needs them. You've outgrown the old dynamic. The constant explaining, the emotional begging, the trying to be understood. You're operating on a higher frequency now, one built on peace and purpose instead of approval. Here's the part no one talks about. The real glow-up isn't just physical, it's energetic. You start carrying yourself differently. You walk slower, but stronger. You talk less, but mean more. You post less, but say everything through your calm. You start attracting opportunities, peace, and people who see your worth without needing proof. And they feel it, because energy never lies. At first, they'll think you're just pretending. They'll tell themselves you're faking it, acting distant to make them jealous. But as time passes, they'll see it's not an act, it's evolution. You've stopped needing attention because you've built self-respect. You've stopped seeking validation because you've found clarity. They used to think your love made you weak, but now they're realizing your love was your strength. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." That's exactly what you're doing. You're not arguing, you're becoming. You're letting your silence evolve into self-mastery. You're turning pain into power, confusion into confidence, and loss into leadership. They'll start noticing small things. The peace in your face, the confidence in your tone, the way you move without needing eyes on you. It'll bother them, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your stillness reminds them of their chaos. You've become a walking contrast to their confusion, and that's when the regret truly begins to grow. You see, folks, People don't regret losing someone who begged. They regret losing someone who became everything they thought they didn't need. You were their mirror once, but now you're their mountain, distant, grounded, and unreachable. They can look, but they can't touch. They can remember, but they can't return. Because once you evolve, you stop being accessible to the same energy that broke you. And let's be real, this evolution doesn't come easy. It's not about pretending to be fine. It's about rebuilding from the inside out. There are nights you'll cry, and mornings you'll wake up numb. There are days where you'll want to break your silence just to feel something familiar. But those are the days that matter the most. Because every time you choose stillness over reaction, you're reminding yourself, I'm not who I was. That's how evolution happens, not in one big leap, but in small, disciplined choices. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop measuring your worth by their response. You stop chasing closure because you realize peace is closure. And slowly, piece by piece, the old you dies, not because you lost them, but because you finally found yourself. Then one day, you'll look in the mirror, and the person staring back won't be the same one who begged to be loved. You'll see strength where there was once fear. You'll see calm where there was once chaos. You'll see a face that doesn't need fixing anymore. And when that happens, when your evolution becomes undeniable, you won't care whether they remember you or not, because you'll finally remember who you are. And that's the ultimate power. They may scroll through your old photos, replay your voice in their mind, or wonder where it all went wrong. But deep down, they'll know it wasn't that you disappeared. It's that you transformed. You became a version of yourself that no longer fits the story they tried to write for you. That's when silence turns to legend. They won't be able to replace it, explain it, or escape it. Your energy will linger in their mind like an unanswered question, and the more they try to forget, the more they'll remember. Because evolution leaves a mark no memory can fade. So if you're listening to this right now, wondering if they'll ever realize what they lost, stop wondering. The truth is, they already do. They just don't know how to say it. And they never will, because by the time they find the words, you'll be gone, too evolved, too peaceful, too focused on your next chapter to ever look back. Remember this, my friends, you're not doing this to make them regret you. You're doing this to make peace with yourself. The goal was never to be missed. It was to be reborn. Now, before we end, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't chase, I evolve. Say it like you mean it, because that's not just a line, it's your new identity. You're not a follower of pain anymore. You're the author of peace. If this message hit home, show some love. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more. Because your journey doesn't end here, my friends. This is only the beginning of your evolution. Stay silent, stay strong, and keep rising.